Last week, my friend Michael Ellis was here at Leerburg. We filmed the next two training DVDs that Michael and I will be doing together. They are bite training puppies and protection exercises that handlers can do without a decoy. While Michael was here, we filmed a number of question and answer sessions that customers sent us by emails and on Facebook. The newsletters over the coming weeks will feature Michael and I discussing the answers to these questions. This newsletter features the first of these Q&As. So here we are again with Michael Ellis visiting, producing some new training videos, and we're doing questions and answers that came to us off of Facebook actually last night. I have a question here from Roz in Memphis, and it's a good question. Is the drive a dog is born with set at birth, or can you build the drive in a dog? I'm sure you can improve it, but can you greatly change it? Good question, Michael.
It's a good question. It's the classic question, right? The classic nature versus nurture question, right? So is the dog born with their potential, or is it developed based on their interactions with their environment? And I don't think we really know for sure, right? So they're doing all kinds of studies these days on heritability of performance-based traits and how much of that's heritable and how much of it's shaped by the environment. And it's, of course, very difficult to quantify. In my opinion, the range of possible expression is defined genetically, but where the dog lands in that range is defined by what we do with it. And that range can be very, very wide, meaning if I have let's say the range, this would be if everything went perfectly, my dog would have this much motivation. And if everything went terribly, my dog would have this much motivation. And this range here is defined partially or mostly genetically, but where they land. And so if I do things really well, that dog can land way up here. And I think a lot of dogs can be radically improved by good training and good experiences at the right time. And geneticists now will talk about what happens and what time certain genetic switches flip on in dogs and whether or not that behavior is nurtured at that point, and whether or not the dog incorporates that behavior into their lifetime repertoire based on what happens when it first expresses itself, but also the age of the dog when it expresses themselves. And there's a variety of variables that are really difficult to quantify. But I think we can affect it radically. And there's a whole school of thought, and I think not only is it not accurate, but it's sort of defeatist, and people use it as an excuse a lot to do bad dog training, but they basically say, hey, my dog is either going to have it or not have it. And there's enough truth in there to keep that illusion alive, but the truth is there's a lot you can do to make them better, and there's a reason that people are out there, and the same sorts of people are being successful over and over and over again with different dogs. And you see people come out with different breeds and be successful in a variety of disciplines. There's a reason. They're doing the right things to develop that dog's motivation. And so part of me thinks that I want good genetics, but the other thing is I want to take responsibility for what I can do, and I'm not going to be a better trainer unless I commit to my role in how that dog turns out. And in my opinion, we can change dogs quite a bit if you do things correctly.
And this kind of reminds me of what we were talking about last night. Why don't you bring up what we were talking about with horses and the...
Oh yeah, there's been some recent studies on racehorses and how much of their success is heritable. And off the top of my head, I can't remember the name of the study, but the studies now are showing basically about 30% of the success of a racehorse is heritable, and the other 70% is environment. It's basically their training, their rearing, their experiences as they learn to run, and a lot of that stuff. So the dog's potential, the horse's potential is probably, and the dog's, is probably defined by genetics, but it's such a wide range that success is very highly dictated by the training and the environmental processes along the way.
That's absolutely truth. I often tell people, I'm retired from breeding, have been retired from breeding for 3 or 4 years, but over the years, I bred hundreds of litters, and there is probably no one that I know of in the United States that has screwed up more puppies than me.
Don't be so hard on yourself.
I'm not kidding you. And it's because I would breed a litter of puppies and there'd be a superstar in that litter, and I'd keep it back and I'd get so involved in my business. that I didn't do the right job in raising the puppy. And I would see this little superstar running around. I'd get involved in my life, and then the next thing I would know, this puppy would be 6 or 8 months old.
And average.
Wouldn't be a superstar anymore. Just be a
Absolutely.
normal puppy, and there he'd go and be a pet someplace.
And I think it's important that, I mean, to me, it's that treat every single one of them, whether they look like a superstar or not, like they're the next world champion.
Absolutely.
You have to have faith in their potential, and you have to do your part. And if it turns out not to be so, it turns out not to be so. But at that point, you did your part. You did what you could do, and they'll surprise you. Many, many puppies that didn't look so good are winning things all over the place now. So
I would have given my left arm to have known what we know today because of you on the food motivation work and the tug work like 20, 25 years ago. I think of all the dogs that could have benefited from that. And I think how lucky people are that are sitting out there and they have access to the internet and they have access to training DVDs today that back in the 70s when I
took us a little while to get here, right?
Yeah,
That's true.
back in the 70s, you know, we didn't have that. We didn't have anything. We just had to go to seminars, and then we had to remember it. Well, before we had
It's a challenge.
even videos, we couldn't do it. So
True enough.
I hope we answered your question, Roz. Thanks for your business. We always announce our new training DVDs and our newsletters. The filming for bite training puppies and protection exercises without a decoy is finished. Now it just comes down to the editing process. That takes time. I can tell you that these videos are forever going to change the way people protection train puppies and adolescent dogs. They're going to provide training opportunities for people who don't always have access to a decoy. These trainers can now establish the foundation of protection skills that will be in place with their dogs when the dog finally faces a decoy. If you'd like to have a little advance notice to the release of these training DVDs, you can email my office manager and she will add your name to a list.